Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Namaste and welcome to the video course on watershed management. In this module 1 on introduction and basic concepts, in today's lecture, lecture number 3, we will discuss about the watershed management policies. So, some of the important topics covered here include introduction to water policy, legislative framework, institutional framework, watershed policies, formulation, policy issues for successful watershed management, national water policy and case studies. So, some of the important keywords related to this lecture are water policy, institutional framework, legislative framework and watershed management policy. So, while dealing with any resources like water or land, it is always better to have a well defined policy. So, before going to the various aspects of watershed policy, let us have a look into the various policies related to water issues say persisting in a country, or what are the issues which has to be there as far as a water policy is concerned. So, here some of the important aspects of water policies are listed. So, water policy actually is a set of guidelines and directives to the state for harnessing water resources to cater the various sectorial needs like agriculture sector, industrial sector and domestic sector, and this gives the need in equitable way that leads to the sustainable development. So, as we have already discussed in the case of watershed management, so we are looking for the sustainable development issues. So, water is also concerned, water is also a resource. So, that way the water policy should give sufficient information, sufficient guidelines as far as the various issues of sustainable development are concerned. So, a policy is actually the water policy is a statement that defines ownership and related rights with regard to its use, that means here water, then incentive and penalty awards towards conservation and deterioration of water resources. Then the policy statement should include water allocation priorities to various sectors. So, as we discussed, important sectors are agricultural, industrial and domestic sectors. Then the policy statement should mention about water conservation. Then also the policy statement should mention about the institutional structure for executing the planning, implementation and maintenance of the system. So, that way the water policy should be well defined, it should give the various aspects, various regulations which are prevailing or which are supposed to implement as far as that resource is concerned. Then what are the various components of water policy? So, here in these slides the components are listed. So, mainly water policy is concerned, two components are there. First one is the legislative framework, second one is the institutional framework. The legislative framework gives the legal framework that defines the rights to exploit or use of water resources and provisions of award of incentives and penalties. So, this is say legislative framework gives the legal aspects, so the rules and regulations as far as the policy is concerned. So, either as a water policy or watershed policy or whichever policy we are considering. So, legislative framework gives the various rules and regulations and then say how to implement that rules and regulations. So, all these aspects are given as far as the legislative framework is concerned. Then the second framework is the institutional framework. So, institutional framework gives the details of administrative system that is responsible for assessment and management of water resources. So, as far as water policy is concerned, the institutional framework shows the administrative system who administrate various aspects of the water resource on national level, state level or block level or up to the panchayat level. So, then now we will discuss the important aspects as far as legislative and the administrative or the institutional framework is concerned. So, here the various issues related to legislative framework is discussed in this slides. So, as far as India is concerned, water is in Indian constitution is water is an entry in 56 of union list and entry of 17 of state list. The articles 246 and article 262 mentions about the water related issues, and it empowers parliament to make law regarding developments and management of interstate rivers. So, as such India is concerned, water is mainly a state issue. The central government or government of India has got advisory rules, but of course, parliament can enact various rules and regulations, so that the various states has to follow. So, as for this article 262, this article specifies that parliament may by law provide that neither the Supreme Court or any other court shall exercise jurisdiction with respect to interstate river disputes. So, so you can see that India is concerned, there are number of states, and then a large number of rivers are passing through various states. Then of course, various disputes will be there between states as far as the water sharing issues are concerned for the particular river is concerned. So, as per article 262, instead of a judicial review of these various issues, always this article mentions about the arbitration or arbitration rules as far as the interstate issues are concerned. So, the interpretation as far as this article 262 is the Supreme Court or other judicial agencies can appoint some arbitrators to deal with these interstate rules. So, these details you can see in the Ministry of Water Resources website as mentioned here. Then now we will discuss various water legislations as far as India is concerned. So, in India, as far as water legislation is concerned, the surface water and groundwater is are not defined separately. So, it is mentioned as water only. So, various components of water regulations are listed here, and then its applicable regulatory framework is also mentioned. As far as ownership of water is concerned, the Government of India Act as per 1882 rules, the ownership of the water is the state governments, and of course, Government of India's advisory role. And then withdrawal of water is concerned, so it is a state subject. So, some of the states have enacted and implemented water resource legislation. And then usage of water is concerned, as per Government of India Act, as a prevention and control of pollution, various acts have been enacted. So, then as far as the various Government of India agencies are concerned, then again advisory roles are there, and mainly state government will be dealing with the water pollution issues are concerned. Then wastewater disposal also, Government of India Act which is implemented in 1974 and 1998 states various regulations, and then also the state pollution control boards deal with the wastewater related issues, and then water management, and then water qualities issues are also concerned. Mainly state has a major say, and then Government of India has got advisory roles, and its agencies can give advices. Of course, important laws can be enacted by the parliament. Then some of the important water legislations in India are listed here. So, some of the legislations related to Prevention and Control of Pollution Act 1974, which is again amended in 1978 and 1988. So, these legislations deals with setting up of institution related to administration of water, like Central Pollution Control Board and State Pollution Control Boards. Then it undertake functions related to prevention and control and maintaining and restoring related to wholesomeness of water. So, water is considered as a whole issue. So, it is not only quantity of water, quality of water is also a major issue. So, various legislations as far as water related say water sharing or water resources utilization, and then of course, the quality of water to be maintained, all these number of legislations are available in India, and then also the institution provide consent to operate and consent to establish to industries based on applicability. So, this is also a state issue, but of course, Government of India enacts certain laws and regulations, so that the states can follow as appropriate as far as the various issues are concerned. Then the Environmental and Protection Act of 1986. So, this gives say various say regulations as far as the environmental issues are concerned. So, this Protection Act lays down the procedure for setting up of standards, emissions and discharge of pollutions, and accordingly the Bureau of Indian Standards have come up with various Indian standards such as 3025 for sampling, then 2373 for flow measurements, then 10,500 for drinking water specifications, then contaminant wise related guidelines for wastewater, etc. So, the to deal with all these issues, Central Pollution Control Board is there, then also various states pollution control boards are also there to see that these various rules and regulations are implemented appropriately for various issues are concerned. Then as far as water is concerned, another important bill is Model Groundwater Bill of 1970. So, this bill contains the broad framework of groundwater regulation of the country. So, due to overdraft of the groundwater, then groundwater levels are going down in many places, and also groundwater pollution is a major issue. So, this 1970 bill provides the states and union territories to establish groundwater authority to notify areas of control and regulate the groundwater development and management. So, accordingly, Government of India formed a central groundwater authority. So, according to their norms, the say they have categorized the various zones as say safe drinking water zones or overexploited zone or critical polluted zone. So, like that, Central Groundwater Authority has made say various norms as far as the groundwater is concerned. So, that is about the groundwater bill of 1970. Then this is about the legislative framework as far as the water policy is concerned. So, of course, the watershed, when we deal with watershed management, water policy is very important. So, according to the these water policies, the water resources management in a particular watershed we will be dealing with. So, that is why these water policies are also important as far as the watershed management issues are concerned. So far what we discussed is about the some of the legislation as far as water policy is concerned. Now, the various administrative structures as far as Government of India and state governments are concerned. So, some of the major institutions or the administrative structure is concerned, Government of India has got a Ministry of Water Resource, and then also many state government also have got this Ministry of Water Resource. So, the Government of India Ministry of Water Resource is the nodal agency for planning, development and management of the water resource of the country. So, of course, as I mentioned earlier, the state governments have a major say as far as the water resource is concerned, but Government of India has got an advisory role, and then say the ministry and then its agencies have advisory role, or to they can advise the state government to do the development as far as developmental issues are concerned, or as far as the implementation issues are concerned, or sustainable development or sustainable water management are concerned. They have got the advisory role. And then under Ministry of Water Resources, various departments are there, like Central Water Commission for surface water related issues, then Central Groundwater Board is there for groundwater related issues, then National Water Development Agency is there to provide technical support as far as the Ministry of Water Resource and various state governments are concerned. So, they develop the detailed project report and then come up with various issues, they come up with the models and then support system as far as the Government of India and its project implementation and then state governments are concerned. And then also as the various institutions like water and land management institutes in various states, and then various agricultural universities and then various water related departments in states and union territories are there for research and then developmental issues as far as the water related issues are concerned. So, these are the details as far as the administrative structure is concerned. Then also as far as Government of India is concerned, some other ministries are also dealing with some of the water related issues. So, the ministries are listed here, like Ministry of Rural Development. So, this ministry deals with the land and then rural area development is concerned. So, some of the project or some of the issues which Ministry of Rural Development will be dealing are desert development program, drought prone area program, integrated wasteland development program, like that. And then another important ministry is Ministry of Agriculture and Cooperation. So, say they deal with the various agricultural water management issues, then drinking water program, then National Watershed Development Program of Government of India. So, like that various watershed related issues are dealt by Ministry of Agriculture of say Government of India, and then of course, similarly for various state governments are concerned. So, the various watershed related policies and the projects are under the Ministry of Agriculture, like region wise watershed development projects, then integrated watershed development projects, etc., are dealt by Ministry of Agriculture. Then another important ministry is Ministry of Environment and Forest. So, Ministry of Environment Forest deals with the pollution issues of water and water, air and soil and related issues. So, under Ministry of Environment and Forest, there is Central Pollution Control Board, then National River Conservation Board. So, they deal with the various water quality issues, then lake development, then eco development programs, etc. So, these are the administrative structures as far as the Government of India and then various state governments are concerned as a typical case as far as India is concerned. So, now so far what we have discussed is about the water policies. As I mentioned, when we discuss about the watershed management issues or watershed policies are concerned, water policies are also very important, since most of the issues related to water policies are also applicable as far as watershed management policy is concerned. So, now we will come back to watershed policy and then discuss various issues as far as watershed policy is concerned. So, watershed policy are formulated to manage and protect watershed fully and effectively, and a clear policy is always required to emphasize inter alia, so that the various interaction between various sectors are concerned, so that we can have a coordinated and integrated approach. Then local participation is possible, manpower and resource management are possible, appropriate land use planning are possible. So, like that a specific policy as a watershed policy is always essential to deal with the watershed management effectively. So, then main objective of watershed management, as we discussed earlier, is to promote integrated protection, conservation and development of land and water resource in a watershed for sustainable use and for the benefit of the nation as a whole. So, that is the main objective of any watershed management program. So, the watershed policy which we can formulate, so that helps to make appropriate plans and managerial plan for the considered watershed. So, the watershed policy are the documents that gives the regulations that regulates both the public and private activities within our watersheds, primarily through use of codes, ordinances, through the establishment of minimum or maximum standards, and then setting of budgets. So, the watershed policy either under the Ministry of Agriculture or Ministry of Water Resource, say when the watershed policies are formulated and then further modified say as per the various needs. So, that policy paper shows policy gives the details as far as the setting of budgets, then what kind of activities should be put, say for example, when we consider various 5-year plans. So, say for example, 12th 5-year plan, what should be the what are our targets as far as the various achievements for next 5 years related to watershed, and then what are things to be implemented, and then what kind of support should be given to various states and other agencies from the Government of India. So, all these details will be put in the watershed policies. So, as far as the various strategies for implementation of the watershed policies are concerned, various issues are listed here. So, this watershed policy gives the overall picture of the developmental issues as far as the national watershed program is concerned. Then it established an interministerial watershed management committee. So, as I mentioned, various ministries are coming to picture as far as the watershed management implementation are concerned, or the policy developments are concerned. So, the various ministries or various agencies should come together to make an appropriate watershed policy document. Then it should strengthen human and financial resources required to coordinate, implement, and monitor work in the various watershed related projects. Then also the watershed policy rank each watershed and establish priorities for interventions. So, we have already seen various watershed related issues are there, problems are there. So that when we look for an holistic way of watershed management practice or watershed management plans, say we should rank what is the priorities, and then accordingly, so the watershed policy will give the ranking for the according to the priorities. And then also the watershed policy secure budgetary support for implementation of the policy. So, once a policy document is made, so the budget will be allocated, and then the implementation issues also will be discussed. So, accordingly we can develop a watershed policy. So, that gives the various framework as far as the watershed management plans are concerned. So, here the watershed development policy issues are listed further. So, the regulations or policies generated towards one aspect of watershed management should not be contradictory to the other aspect. So, as I mentioned, various ministries, various agencies are dealing with water related issues or watershed related issues. So, the regulations or policies generated by one agency or one ministry should not be contradictory to the whatever put by other agencies. So, that way we should be careful. Then watershed development is prerequisite for land, water and biomass management. So, when we develop a watershed development policy, we have to see that the watershed development is the prerequisite for land, water and biomass management. Then watershed development policy formulation should be consistent with the federal, state and local legislation. So, the federal government or the government of India, say for example, will be having its norms and policy. So, say when the watershed development policy is formulated, then we have to see the various needs, various geographical conditions, various existing policies in a local, state and regional level, so that say there will not be any conflicts, and then some mutual cooperation will be possible. Then further overall policy formulation should be done by considering a larger interest of the country. So, even though various issues will be there on regional level or state level, but whenever final policy formulation is done, the main emphasis should be overall policy formulation should be for the larger interest of the country. So, that we should be careful when the appropriate watershed policies are formulated. Now, let us see some of the important characteristics as far as watershed policies are. Should stand as ready guides to answering many questions that may arise in the implementation of watershed management plans. So, when we are developing a watershed management plan and then going for implementation, so the policy document should clearly tell the various questions, various issues as far as the implementation agencies are concerned, and generally watershed policies are formulated at the government level by considering the various issues, by discussing with various agencies including non-government organization, NGOs, then local people, etc. So, at government level the watershed policies, say it will be following say the decision and actions, and then we will be checking the importance of each decision, and then related if once it is implemented what will be happening, and then what will be the ramifications as far as the various policy issues are concerned, and then the time frame whenever this policy will be implemented, then what will be happening for the that particular policy, and then what will be its ramifications. So, that also we have to discuss whenever we formulate a watershed policy, and then the various issues concerned to that particular watershed policy. So, now the various issues when we formulate a watershed policies, the watershed policies are discussed here. So, watershed policy formulation is very data intensive. So, as I mentioned, say the watershed when we prepare watershed management plans, so it depends upon various issues like the particular watershed characteristics, then various needs of the society or various needs of the particular area is concerned, and then the climatic issues or hydrological issues. So, say when we are formulating particular watershed policy, so we have to see that say all these issues are addressed properly. Then of course, from one location to another location, the various characteristics, various issues will be varying, but of course, to come up with a watershed policy, we can classify the various issues according to the needs, according to its characteristics, and then we can collect the appropriate data and then analyze it, and then go for the formulation of the watershed policy. So, the data like hydrological information watershed is we have to get, and that is very expensive to obtain and interpret, and then some of the basic sets of data like inventory of watershed resources, then inventory of use of resources, then the socio-economics of the people. So, like that various issues we have to deal with when we formulate the watershed policy. So, as far as various data is concerned, the collection of information like we can follow the various aspects listed here. So, like right of access to information, so this should be readily available. So, mainly as we discussed, most of these implementation aspects or the various issues are concerned, it is state wide subject. So, the state government can make policies or formulate the objectives and then collect the appropriate data. Then various information requirements such as the say technological details or the land details or the water related details. So, this need a large amount of time, and then it is a huge task. So, say we have to see that since say the watershed characteristics or watershed plans will be varying depending upon the area. So, we have to see that the data requirements should be minimum, and then we have to collect the data in an optimal way, so that we can go for the best policy documentation for the particular watershed management issues are concerned. So, now let us discuss what are the important policy issues as far as the say development of a successful watershed management policy is concerned. So, some of the important policy issues are listed here, like understanding and quantifying the biomass types and interactions both in space and time. So, as you can see that the various resources like water, the land use, etc., all these things will be varying with respect to space and time. So, we have to understand and quantify these biomass types. Then there should be proper linkage between social, political and technical system at appropriate levels. So, that is very important for the successful development of policy. Then agroecological approach should be considered for planning of watershed. So, most of the time the agricultural practices or the ecological aspects are very important. So, that issues we have to consider. Then the priority should be given to water resource development in watershed. So, as we discussed, water is one of the important resource as far as the domestic, industrial or agricultural practices are concerned. So, the priority should be to given to water resource development in the area. Then requirement of the poor people and influences on the watershed. So, all these should come in policy formulation, so that there will be appropriate say socio-economic aspects will be incorporated within the watershed policy. So, then some more issues are listed here, like need to establish and manage a national database system for the watershed. So, when we develop the policy issues, we have to see these issues. Then watershed models should be properly formulated, verified and confirmed with field observations. So, as I mentioned, this watershed policies, when these policies are formulated, we have to see that what is really happening within the field or within the various watershed, and then we have to see, we have to confirm with respect to field observations whether the policies which we are formulating are viable and whether it can be implemented, and then that can be sustained. Then most of the watershed policies are concerned agriculture is, so you can see that one of the important sector. So, this agriculture is highly dependent on soils and climate. So, most of the areas, say for example, in India the farmers are dependent upon rainfed agriculture. So, the climate conditions are very important. So, for example, based on 50 years of climate data and then up to date soil database, say India is divided into 20 agroecological zones, AEZ. So, we can classify depending upon the soil related data, then climatic conditions. So, like we can have agroecological zones. So, when we are formulating the watershed policy, so maybe for each zone we can have different type of policies depending upon the ecological conditions, depending upon the climatic conditions, depending upon soil nature, etc. So, each agroecological zone is we can consider as a uniform zone, and then it is possible in terms of physiography, climate, length of growing period, soil type, then for macro level land use planning and effective transfer technology. So, these kinds of agroecological zoning is very good. So, say the Ministry of Water Resources has done this agroecological zoning as far as India is concerned. So, accordingly 20 zones give say the various issues, or say according to the various characteristics. So, the zoning is done. So, each zone we can have a separate watershed policy. So, accordingly say we can formulate the policy. Then also we have to see the collaboration of various organizations coming to say as far as the watershed policy is concerned. So as we have seen, various ministries have to interact, and then to see that say successful policies are formulated. So like for example, in India, Ministry of Agriculture and Ministry of Water Resource deals with watershed development policies are concerned. So they have to collaborate, the ministries, various agencies have to collaborate so that appropriate policies are developed. And then there should be proper institutional setup with people's initiative and involvement. So we have seen in earlier lectures, for the successful implementation of any watershed development plans, people participation is very important. Stakeholders should have a good say in starting from the development plans to implementation and to its maintenance. So that way people's initiative is very important, people's involvement is very important. So that way proper institutional framework should be set up when we develop a watershed policy. Then also continuous monitoring of the physical progress of the watershed project should be done as a policy formulation. And then also you can see that nowadays various modern techniques like remote sensing can be effectively used, geography information system can be effectively used. So all these modern techniques, modern technical tools give the capability for say successful policy formulation. So since these say for example remote sensing data for say for India for at various seasons, so that gives what kind of say land use planning is there, what kind of things are going in the past. So accordingly various policy formulations will be possible. And then also the geography information systems give a lot of flexibility as far as the watershed based planning and management is concerned. So that way we can have a better policy can be developed, say as far as watershed policies are concerned. So now so far we have seen the various issues, various characteristics, and then how we can develop a successful watershed policy. So then what will be the outcome of a successful watershed policy? So as we have discussed earlier, so any successful watershed policy gives overall development and overall upliftment of the society or upliftment of the people. So the various issues as far as watershed scale is concerned, so you can see that the various issues or for a successful outcome of a successful watershed policy it is mentioned here in a block diagram. So here you can see that the natural resource and human resource we are effectively utilizing on a watershed scale. So various village institutions and community participations will be taking place, and then accordingly in the policy formulation we should have various norms for capacity building, then financial support, and then extensions like say for example water harvesting, lift irrigation, then water and soil conservation, afforestation activities, joint forest management, community support systems, then infrastructure and energy services. So like that various sectors we should have appropriate policies in a successful watershed policy. And then finally, so all these good policies will lead to better employment, better development, and then finally the outcome will be improved quality of life as far as the people of particular area is concerned. So a successful watershed policy gives overall development, overall improvement in the socio-economics of the people, and then of course sustainable development as far as the watershed is concerned, or the flora and fauna of the particular area is concerned. So this block diagram shows what will be the outcome as far as the as far as a successful watershed policy is concerned. So now in India, various watershed policies or watershed plans government of India and various state governments are implementing for last 40 to 50 years. So here we say if you look into the various policies development or various watershed development plans formulated by government of India and other state governments from 1970 onwards, we can see that say how the variation is taking place, how the trend is changing. Say for example, in 1970s the main emphasis was on the water conservation, so like development of larger dams, reservoirs, and then say soil erosion issues or water management issues. So that is mainly the policy was formulated in such a way that the government will be implementing various projects, and then the either central government or state governments will be formulating the projects, and its agencies will be implementing. So there are no say by there were no say by the people, or the people were not participating effectively in none of these projects. So that were the way of watershed development policies in 1970s till 80s, and then the success rate was not so good, since many of these projects implemented by various agencies could not sustain due to the lack of people participations, people understanding, or people say will to participate in the project, so that the maintenance and the further keeping up of the project were possible. Then by understanding these mistakes, the various agencies of Government of India and state governments changed their policies. So in 1980s, the importance as far as watershed development is concerned, it was on socio-economical aspects with water conservation. So here various watershed development projects were implemented throughout the country through the state governments. So there the emphasis was on the water conservation as well as socio-economic development of the people. So there again the say stakeholders or the people were not coming to picture, they were not actively participated in this project. So further in 1990s there was a trend change, there the not only the socio-economic aspects, but water conservation, and then some for the as far as implementation is concerned, people participation also or the stakeholders participation also were considered in 1990s, and then you can see the success rate was increasing in many of these projects. And finally, say by looking to the various successful projects like Raliganj Siddhi in Maharashtra or Jabua watershed in Madhya Pradesh. So then there were a shift in the policy formulations or watershed policy formulation as far as the Government of India or state government agencies are concerned. So now the latest trend is there are public involvement, public participation from the planning stage, then design stage, and then also implementation stage is concerned. So then you can see that many of the recent projects what were implemented by various agencies were very, so when once these projects were evaluated, you can see that many of these projects are successful. So mainly you can see that the reason is that people participation, and then people were actively involved from the planning stage to the implementation, design, and then of course its maintenance is concerned. So now with this perspective, so here again we will come back to the water policies as far as whatever we doing in India is concerned. So some of the needs of national water policy, say for example in India is concerned, so some of the needs are listed here. So availability of water is highly uneven in both space and time. So you can see that India is concerned mainly water is obtained through monsoon rainfall, say starting from June to say either September or October. So the precipitation is confined to only few months in a year, and rainfall varies spatially. Say for example in western parts of Rajasthan the rainfall is about 100 mm, but this goes to 10,000 mm in some parts of Meghalaya region. And then on an average say there is number of problems like floods and droughts. So flood affects around 7.5 million hectares per year as far as India is concerned. And planning and implementation of water resource projects involve a number of socio-economic aspects and issues. Then of course say the need is for environmental sustainability issues. Then rehabilitation of project affected people and livestock. So whenever huge projects are coming up, then say environmental issues are major issues, then also rehabilitation of the people are concerned, that is also major issues to be considered. Then common approaches and guidelines are necessary on these matters. Then gross irrigation potential is estimated to have increased from 19.5 million to 95 million hectares by the year 1999 or 2000. So, whenever a national water policy is formulated, there should be, we have to see the water quality issues also. So, say accordingly, a national water policy has been formulated in India. So, this policy has been first adopted in 1987 and then formulated in 2002. So, this national water policy advocates water resource of the country should be brought within the category of utilizable resource to the maximum possible extent. So, there are various sectorial needs like agriculture sector, then industrial sector or domestic sector, all these needs to be considered to the maximum possible extent. So, that were some of the important aspects as far as the national water policy is concerned. Then some of the salient features are listed here, like this national water policy promotes use of non-conventional methods such as traditional water harvesting, then rooftop rainwater harvesting, etc. So, this water harvesting is mainly possible, will be done on a watershed scale. Then water transfer to water scarce region. So, there in this water policy, the transfer like interbasin transfer from one basin to another basin. So, that were also formulated in the national water policy that was formulated in 2002. Then people participation has been given very much importance as far as the water policy is concerned. And then also public private partnership like PPP. So, that was also given emphasis in this water policy of 2002. Then water resource planning at hydrological unit, not on political unit, like it is not a say village level or the say block level or district level, but as we discussed, it should be a scientific level like a watershed scale or a hydrological unit should be considered. So, that was one of the important aspects of the aspect of this national water policy, which was formulated in 2002. So, then also this national water policy direct the states to devise its own water policy in practice. So, as we discussed, various states have developed these policies. So, in the national water policy, the allocation priorities were listed like national level, mainly what should be the allocation priority. So, as far as national level is concerned, first priority should be drinking water, then irrigation, hydropower, then ecology, then agro industries, then non-agriculture industries, then navigation, so etc. So, these are some of the priorities listed by listed in the national water policy, but then of course, as per the needs of the various states. So, this can vary. Say for example, most of the states follow this allocation priority, but some state like Maharashtra, there the main priorities like say first industrial use, then other uses, so like that. So, this way the priorities may change from one state to another state. So, then like that as I mentioned, the national water policy in India, the policy emphasize on need for efficient pricing system and transparent subsidy structure for the disadvantaged and poor. So, that is also listed in the national water policy. Then transfer the water management to user groups and local bodies. So, nowadays the user groups promoted in various sectors like agricultural water use or industrial water use. So, accordingly the transfer of the water management can be done to by using the user group. Then private sector participation in water sector. So, that is also emphasized in this national water policy. Then undertaking say phased program for improvement of water quality based on polluter pay principle. So, you can see that in India water is concerned, pollution is a major issue. So, also in this national water policy, polluter pay principle has been formulated. Then the need based economic activities on water zoning has been formulated in the national water policy. Then prioritizing the need for drought prone area. So, as per the the climatic conditions, the drought prone areas were categorized, and then the priority should be given say for the drought prone areas. So, these are some of the salient features of the national water policies of Government of India. So, like this the water policies or watershed policies concerned say depending upon the various needs, depending upon the various issues, we can develop the particular water policy or watershed policy. So, the water policy gives the guidelines further for the watershed development plans or watershed development policies. So, before closing this lecture, let us have a brief look into two case studies. So, first case study is some of the regulations and policies as far as the watershed management in USA is concerned. So, here say the USA the water regulations are concerned, the emphasis on Clean Water Act of federal government. So, for evaluating Federal Water Pollution Control Act, so this was amended in 1977 and further revised in various years like in 1981 to 87 like that. So, the objective is to restore and maintain the chemical, physical and biological integration of the nation's water. So, that is as far as the USA Water Regulation Act is concerned. So, as a part of Clean Water Act, the Environmental Protection Agency delegates these responsibilities to states. Then the Clean Water Act is the cornerstone of surface water quality protection in United States. So, this Clean Water Act will be are followed by various states also. Then some of the salient features of this regulation include the involvement of stakeholder groups in the development and implementation of the strategies. Then for achieving and maintaining state water quality is another hallmark of this approach as far as Clean Water Act is concerned. Under the CWA, Environmental Protection Agency has implemented pollution control programs such as setting of wastewater standards for industry and then local domestic sewage plants, etc. Then water quality standards for all contaminants including surface water and groundwater are listed. Then the national pollutant discharge elimination system has been implemented under this Clean Water Act. So, this NPDES controls water pollution by regulating point sources that discharge pollutants into the waters. So, here various timelines and amendments are listed for various years. So, like in 1972, say the goal was to prohibit the discharge of any pollutant to the waters of at various locations. Then national pollutant discharge elimination system has been developed. Then the process was extremely successful in various areas, and then these implementations and then maintenance were looked after by the Environmental Protection Agency, US EPA. And then various timelines like 1987, the modifications or amendments were done for like non-point source of pollutions are concerned. Then 1992, Environmental Protection Agency published a notice requesting information and public comments for preparing regulations under Clean Water Act. Then 1995, EPA proclaimed formally a final rule. So, there under this NPDES the various amendments were done, so that further say the implementations were made strict. And further in 1996, National Water Quality Inventory were implemented. 1998, EPA National Water Quality Inventory report was formulated. Then 1999, the goal was setting of establishing total maximum daily loads as far as TMDL is concerned, TMLDS is concerned. So, this TMDL specifies the amount of each particular pollutant that may be present in water body. So, like that, so this the Clean Water Act proposed in USA and then implemented by US EPA has been very successful in preventing the water pollution at various locations, and this policy, the water policy or water pollution prevention policy has been implemented by various states effectively, and now you can see that whenever the evaluations were done last few years, then you can see that these policies were very successful. And then as a second case, another case is about river interlinking project of Government of India, which was proposed in 2003 and 4, and the rationale was large spatial and temporal distribution of rainfall patterns causing drought and floods like is condition in India. So this gives birth to policy concept of river interlinking project. So that means connecting wherever the surplus water areas to other scarce areas through interlinking of various river basins. So various river basins are listed here. So actually this was still, and this proposal is still under proposal stage, and National Water Development Agency is preparing various DPRs, development project reports. So the policy impact, say here, say some of the links are mentioned here. So there is a peninsular link, and then there is a northern link connecting the various major river basins to the northern rivers to the southern peninsular region. So but you can see that such a policy has lot of impacts as far as the various issues are concerned. Actually the positive impacts like this may enhance food grain production and then water availability, but then of course lot of problems will be there like environmental issues, then displacement issues of the people, then sustainability issues. So some of the positive impact and then negative impacts, all these details have been studied by National Water Development Agency for the last few years, and then actually recently one or two links like in Kent-Betwa link, the implementation process are going on, but remaining links are concerned still studies are going on. So these are some of the relevant references as far as today's lecture is concerned on watershed development and policies. So some of the tutorial questions like discuss the needs of water policy and components of an effective water policy. So these details we have already seen in the lecture. Then describe the outcome of a successful watershed management policy. So we have already seen as far as the development of a successful policy details we have already seen. Then discuss the national water policy in India. We have seen various steps, various issues as far as Government of India national water policy is concerned. Then some of the self-evaluation questions are listed here. What are the important policy issues for successful watershed management? Then second question is discuss water related institutions like then its roles, administrative structures in India. So these issues are also discussed in today's lecture. Then a few assignment questions like illustrate various water legislations in India and its impacts, then how to formulate an effective watershed policy, then discuss about the necessity of an effective watershed policy for better watershed management practices. So these issues are also say you can make it as an assignment. Few questions are listed here, but many of these issues we have discussed in today's lecture. So as an unsolved problem, one case study you may develop as a case study of watershed policy of a country by considering physical setting, watershed conditions, then the various problems, history of watershed management, international trends, then legislative framework, institutional framework, challenges, strategies for policy implementation, financial aspects, implementation issues, etc. So you can various case studies are available in the internet. Say for example, you can see a case study for Jamaica in this website. So you can develop a case study by considering various issues. So today we have discussed the watershed development policy, then its formulation, and then of course water policy is also an important issue. So various aspects of water policies are also discussed in today's lecture. So with this, the first module on introduction and watershed concepts, 3 lectures are over. So you can see the various questions as listed in the self-evaluation, tutorial, assignments, and then unsolved problems for the 3 lectures you would have seen in the video. So, now we will be going to module 2 in the next lecture. Thank you very much.